I have long wanted to play this game, but as a collector of physical games, I tend to hold off on digital-only releases in hopes of an eventual physical release, or a substantial discount. Sadly, this one still has not received a physical release, but I did manage to purchase it during a sale. So after nearly 2 years, I finally got to play Solar Ash. This game was developed by Heart Machine, the team behind the acclaimed and one of my personal all-time favorites, Hyperlight Drifter. And after playing Solar Ash, I'm determined to eventually return to Hyperlight Drifter before the upcoming follow-up, Hyperlight Breaker. Emerging as a humble indie studio, initially relying on Kickstarter to finance the creation of their debut undertaking, it was a huge surprise to see Solar Ash on display during the PS5 reveal event. And as one who supported their Kickstarter campaign back in 2013, I'm thrilled to see their increasing success. But let's not get too caught up in their history, as I feel that's a story better suited for my eventual Hyperlight Drifter review. If you've watched my Sable review, you know my thoughts on games with unique visual aesthetics. They can often be the main draw of a game for me. This was certainly the case when I backed the Hyperlight Drifter Kickstarter, and the beautiful, surreal, neon visuals that were characteristic of that game carried over into Solar Ash. Solar Ash follows Ray, the final member of a group known as Void Runners, as she ventures beyond the event horizon of the Ultra Void, a world-eating black hole, in hopes of activating an immense device known as the Starseed, with the aim of averting the annihilation of her world. Within the Ultra Void, Ray finds the twisted remains of civilizations previously consumed, as well as seemingly hostile creatures, small and large. Ray is aided by an AI interface called SID, an acronym for Centralized Yottabyte Database. SID's purpose is to assist Void Runners on their missions within black holes. However, despite finding the Starseed intact, something appears to be impeding SID's ability to interact with it. Fortunately, SID manages to pinpoint the origins of this interference, enabling Ray to tackle them head-on. Apart from the initial tutorial area, the map is segmented into 6 distinct sectors, each with its own unique biome and set of challenges. These biomes are littered with a black sludge-like substance that, for the most part, isn't directly menacing, but does impede Ray's movement, though she can use the sludge to climb. There are, however, several deposits of an anomalous form of this sludge within each sector. These anomalies feature a central eye to be destroyed, but poses a risk of harm to Ray if she's exposed for too long. To annihilate the eyes within these anomalies, Ray must rapidly cleave through successive syringe-like nodes until she reaches the core. Obliterating the central eye eradicates the abnormal sludge. Eliminating all instances of the anomalous sludge within a sector awakens a remnant, a massive boss entity that must be vanquished in a similar vein. Solar Ash employs straightforward mechanics that, by design, foster challenges rooted in speed, coordination, and precision. Ray is capable of skating, grav boosting, rail grinding, double jumping, slashing up to 3 times in quick succession, and time slip, momentarily slowing down time. Additionally, Ray can swiftly close a distance by grappling enemies or specific grapple markers. Notably, using Ray's time slip ability significantly extends her grappling range. Your ability to employ all of these skills in concert effectively will be put to the test as you navigate through distorted terrains and enemies, anomalous sludge, and towering remnants. Beyond the primary gameplay loop of clearing sludge eyes and remnants, each sector features distinct environmental mechanics, creating puzzles to solve in order to reach objectives, including side quests and hidden collectibles. Along her journey, Ray will occasionally cross paths with survivors who have endured the Ultra Void's devastation. These survivors will request assistance with their own predicaments. Additionally, scattered within each sector are Void Runner caches, left behind by the missing Void Runners. Collecting all the caches in a given sector will unlock a new outfit, complete with a unique ability upgrade for Ray. Outfits could be changed by speaking with Sid, in addition to providing shield upgrades in exchange for plasma, a floating blood drop-like substance found throughout the map. Although shield kits, which are utilized to restore depleted shield cells, are readily accessible in the environment, enhancing Ray's shields becomes exceptionally advantageous as you encounter increasingly intricate and durable enemy varieties. The run-of-the-mill enemy types prove to be only a minor nuisance, swiftly dealt with once their attack patterns are understood, but in larger groups can pose more of a threat. These enemies include flatheads, stingers, brutes, spitters, and lurkers, each with their own distinct attack styles and patterns. But the real appeal to this game are the Colossal Remnants. These boss fights are like more involved, scaled up versions of the Sludge Eye challenges. First, you must find a way to grapple onto the Remnant by chasing it down, while often avoiding its attacks. Once you've managed to get onto the abomination, you must quickly slash each successive syringe-like node until reaching its core, after which you'll be thrown off to repeat the process a total of 3 times. Each time increasing in difficulty, usually due to a reduction in exoskeleton to skate across, as well as increasing boss movement. Whenever discussing a game with giant scalable bosses, it's inevitable to draw a parallel to Shadow of the Colossus. While that remains a valid comparison, Solar Ash's gameplay also amalgamates elements reminiscent of Sonic's emphasis on speed and Super Mario Galaxy's warped and winding surfaces. This fusion of influences culminates in a hypnotizing experience that's difficult to tear oneself away from. I mean, I managed to complete the game 3 times within a week, largely to attain the Platinum Trophy, yet the enjoyment was constant throughout. During my initial playthrough, I opted for the most challenging difficulty available for a first play, which leads me to my first point of critique. The so-called challenge mode difficulty didn't quite present much of a challenge at all. The skill gap between challenge mode and hardcore, which unlocks after completing the game, is insane. I think the majority of time spent on my hardcore playthrough was familiarizing myself with the substantial increase in speed, precision, and technique necessary for this mode against the first boss. However, acclimating to the gameplay at this level astronomically elevated an overall fantastic game. As I'm sure you could surmise by the fact that I completed the game 3 times within a single week, Solar Ash is quite short, and because of this, I think it has a hard time justifying its price. Personally, I would be more amenable to this pricing as a physical release. But sadly, 2 years post-launch, there's been no indication of movement on that front, which is why I finally took the plunge when I found it on sale for 50% off. My hope persists that the possibility of even a limited physical release could materialize, potentially through channels such as I Am 8-Bit. Annapurna Games, the publisher of Solar Ash, has released physical games through them before. And Heart Machine's debut title, Hyper Light Drifter, even got a limited physical release through I Am 8-Bit. So I'll keep the hope alive. My final critique pertains to the narrative. Although the story in Solar Ash was original enough, and did indeed have quite a bit of depth, it falls somewhat short when measured against the narrative of Hyper Light Drifter. In contrast to Hyper Light Drifter's wordless approach, allowing all story details to be gleaned from imagery and gameplay alone, Solar Ash felt a little too dialogue-y and simplistic in its narrative delivery. Perhaps it's unfair to compare anything to the magnum opus that is Hyper Light Drifter, so in this regard, Heart Machine might have set an exceedingly high standard with their debut title, potentially leading to the impression that nothing else could quite match up. Ultimately, Solar Ash stands as a game that warrants your attention, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to gamers of all kinds. Its gameplay boasts an inviting accessibility, yet unfurls intricate layers of complexity at higher difficulty tiers. And honestly, who wouldn't have fun just gliding around and slashing fools? But whether or not you should wait for a sale for Solar Ash is something you'll have to grapple with on your own. As a physical game collector, I can't bring myself to pay full price for a digital-only game. But I did buy this digitally, and would totally buy a physical version if it were ever released, so make of that what you will. In a fortuitous turn of events, as I was editing this video, Solar Ash was announced to be coming to Xbox and Switch this month, and will additionally be available through Game Pass. So certainly, if you have Game Pass, don't sleep on this one. For now, I'm curious to hear your opinions. Have you had the chance to play any of Heart Machine's titles, and what are your impressions? Otherwise, is there anything you'd like to know about that might not have been addressed in the video? I make an effort to stay engaged with comments and respond whenever relevant, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and let's continue the conversation. If you've enjoyed the video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could show your support by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, I've been Punch and Funk. Keep it funky, fellas.